The Clemson Tigers are always on the prowl for more and more recruits to bolster their program. Who is the latest four-star player in the trenches that would be a great addition to this program? I'm going to tell you next on the Locked On Clemson Podcast.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Clemson family? Welcome back to the Locked On Clemson Podcast, your daily podcast covering your Clemson Tigers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on Twitter at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout over with the Draft Network, as well as part of the co-host team of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. And guys, thank y'all for tapping in with me and making Locked On Clemson your first listen today and every day, Monday through Friday. Appreciate you guys for always being the family, but as always, being the everydayers. Nothing but love and support from your boy DP. Now, we have ourselves a nice show. We're going to kick it off. We're going to be talking about a couple different things here. Is Clemson still wide receiver you? We're going to get into that discussion. ESPN did an article, and we're going to see where Clemson lands if they're still in that contention for the title wide receiver you. Bronko Nagurski, top defensive player in college football, candidates for your Clemson Tigers. How many made the list? And I'm going to talk about them as well. And we're going to kick it off, guys. We're going to kick it off with on the prowl, 4-star 2025 offensive tackle, Solomon Thomas, out of Rains, Jacksonville, Florida, goes to Rains High School. And, listed at 6'4", 285, 290 pounds, a consensus 4-star recruit. And when I watched the tape on this kid, right, watched his highlight tapes and everything, and just getting the feel for his game. This is a young man that, you talk about being physical, being aggressive. This is what you need on the trenches. I know, there's a couple, three, really good offensive linemen from the 2024 class that we weren't able to reel in. We weren't able to bring them in. But, hey, listen to me. But all is not lost because the 2025 class is still waiting in the wings. And this young man, Solomon Thomas, man, physical run blocker. That's the first thing I jotted down in my notes. Physicality in the run game, right? And if you listen to the episode with Clemson young offensive lineman, my little big bro, Mason Johnstone on yesterday. If you haven't, go check it out. But if you listen to it, he talked about one thing he said that stuck out to me. He said that Coach Garrett Riley's the offensive line calls not the air raid, but the dirt raid, because they're going to run the ball and they're going to run it into the teeth of the defense, and they're going to put guys in the dirt. And when you talk about keeping that type of, what's the phrase? Keep that same energy. Yeah, if you want to keep that same energy, Solomon Thomas is absolutely the guy you want to keep, you want to bring in, and you want to be able to add to this offensive line. Physicality and aggression in the run game. He has a finisher's mentality. I just talked about them calling, the Clemson offensive line, calling Gary Riley's offense the dirt raid. Well, he likes to put defenders in the dirt. He wants to drive them and finish them and just, really, I'm going to tell you the other thing I wrote down is just, if I was to give him a nickname, he's the pancake machine. Like he is a pancake artist, man. His level of aggression and physicality, his power that he plays with, man. He's a heavy-handed puncher, brings a nice pop to shock defenders, stop their momentum, right? You know what I mean? And keep guys at a distance. Looks like he has functional arm length with his wingspan and everything as well. And you like the quickness with his feet in terms of to get out of his stance and cut off access for the rusher to the outside arc, so they can't work around outside to the quarterback. You just want to make sure that he continues to coach him up so that he's not only just selling out to get outside, right, to get to his landmarks for the outside arc, but also making sure the inside hand is prepared and he's able to redirect. And instead of, when you're talking about retracing and going backwards, but being able to, step forward and cut off, inside counters, because that's what polished pass rushers will bring. And when you talk about that physicality, man, he has a nasty snatch trap type of technique where if you try to get too close into his arm length and get into his pads, he does a great job slapping the hands down, snatching and throwing down the defender, just face planting them into the dirt. Then he'll drop on top of them sometimes as well for a little extra measure. So you got to kind of tone that down a little bit, which I'll talk about in a second. But I could see a path of this young man honestly playing guard too. He's 6'4", 290, and you just got to see how he continues to develop physically. One name that kind of, just as a college comp that came to my mind, Georgia offensive tackle for last year and first round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Broderick Jones, 6'4", 315. He had like 34.5-inch arms or somewhere in there. Physical, athletic, can get out in space, things like that. I see a little bit of this. I see a path for him to be a very similar player if he stays at tackle. Like I said, arm length looks to be functional, but you want to see, he could benefit from playing with a lot more controlled aggression. I could see him potentially getting flagged at the next level just because he's so aggressive and so physical. You know what I mean? Like, I will say, even though he's aggressive and physical, I appreciate his technique and his patience, his mechanics with his hands and his punches and stuff like that. I don't feel like he's just like a bull in the china shop where it's just I'm just wrecking shop. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just being more physical and being bigger than the next guy. I feel like there's a little nuance to him in terms of getting into his kick slide, keeping a good hand carries, not being too low, not being too high. We're talking about where his hands are as he's getting into his drops, but also understanding not to do a lot of. He does have a little bit of it on tape where he does like the two-hand punch. You want to make sure you don't do that. The same thing with corners. If you two-hand punch, basically, if a guy swipes by, you lock your hip and you can't turn around and retreat and recover. So you want to make sure he doesn't do it a whole lot, but there's a couple instances where I did see that on tape for him. But this is a young man that's really, really talented, guys. I definitely think that, like I said, having more controlled aggression, he gets so amped, so worked up in these reps to really punish guys. He can lean into guys a little bit too much. And what does that do? It opens him up for what they call a push-pull technique, where those defenders push, for those watching on YouTube, the defenders push them back and then snatch them forward. So it's basically, their version of almost their version of the snatch trap, some would say. So like he's got to make sure that he's protecting himself in that regard, because hey, you can't recover if you're on the ground. Right, that's just a fact. So, but looking at this young man, he's got offers from a couple different places here. He's got offers from Florida State. So Florida State, of course, the Florida schools, right? Florida State, Florida, South Carolina, Alabama, Penn State. He's got some big name programs that are on the trail for him. But listen, we're on the prowl, guys. We're on the prowl, and we're going to be on his trail as well. And that's a name I'm going to keep eyes on and keep tabs on, because he's 6'4", 290 right now. Man, I love to see where he is when he does commit and he does land on a college campus. This kid could be 6'5", 305, 310, man, and anything. He's still young and he still can grow and improve. But talented kid, physical. I think he's got a good enough athleticism at the position. I think that he is versatile enough to play both inside at guard or outside of the tackle and everything, man. Just like I said, a talented kid, talented young man, very talented young man. And hopefully he received his offer from Clemson recently. So let's hope that, we can, offensive line coach and everything and Dabo, they can continue to do their thing and stay in contact with this young man and try to bring him into the fold for the 2025 recruiting class. But guys, to talk about talent, you already know what type of talent you have on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to get into the Bronco Nagurski candidates that I recently looked up and saw. Shout out to Tigers.net, I think it is, or tigernet.com. They dropped a piece on it. So I want to go ahead and go over those names, right? Those guys that are on the top potential defensive players of the year award, the Bronco Nagurski. Hey, we got some Clemson Tigers on there. I'm going to tell you how many, who, and why I think one more could be added. Coming up next on the Locked On Clemson Podcast. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Guys, all you have to do is create a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs. Add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. You get access to simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with the right skill set and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and or hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So all you need to do, understand this, LinkedIn Jobs will help you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. The Bronco Nagurski Award, the trophy that is annually presented to the nation's top defensive player. Well, Football Writers Association of America has listed 3 of your Clemson Tiger defenders that are candidates on their watch list for said Bronco Nagurski Award. And your 3 candidates are Barrett Carter, linebacker, defensive tackle, Tyler Davis, and of course, your star Mike linebacker, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. They've been named as 3 of the 96 candidates on the watch list for the Bronco Nagurski Trophy Award. Now, there's somebody's missing, though. Rook Aurora. I get it. 96 guys. So you tell me there's what, 93 other guys that should be listed over Rook? I don't think so. But to talk about Barrett Carter, Tyler Davis, Jeremiah Trotter, who we've talked about and had conversations about, together as a family multiple times, man, those 3 names I absolutely agree with. I think that is 100%, worth the price of admission, you know what I mean, for that, and worth the hype for that award. They deserve to be on the watch list. Now, again, Rook, I think for me, and I've said this, I love Tyler Davis and what he brings to the table. I think that Rook has a higher ceiling. And you know what I mean? Just his physicality, his quickness, play strength, ability to play some zero and anchor in the run game and everything, but also his the flashes of handwork. As if you listen to the episode yesterday with Mason Johnstone, offensive lineman for Clemson, go, if you haven't, go check it out. He talked about, Rook and Tyler Davis both having just really good hands, knowing how to dislodge and, and disengage from blockers and things like that. And as a pass rusher on the interior, if you can get into the face and the lap of the quarterback, man, get right there in his face, right? John Cena, you can't see me. Yeah, you want your defensive lineman to be in the face of the quarterback. You can't see your receivers. Like, that's what you want. And Tyler Davis and Rook bring that, man. But I think Rook is the better run defender. I just think he has a higher ceiling. Because he's also very versatile. They move him all over the defensive line. But, with these 3 guys, man, I don't really have a problem, with them on the list at all. 3 of the more impactful defenders on this team. The three of the most impactful defenders on this team, but also 3 of the most impactful defenders in college football, man. And like I said, when you have guys that can do what Barrett Carter can do, right? Play outside linebacker, line up into the nickel as an overhang linebacker defender, drop off into coverage, cover man to man, blitz off the edge, be a extra hat when you need him to be in the run game, or be a consistent hat in the run game, right? Be able to tackle in space, just plays physical, plays smart, and he's really athletic, man, really athletic. And I think I said this before. If I haven't, I may have told Keith, my co-host of the Locked On NFL Draft. Barrett Carter just reminds me of a more physical and more disciplined version of Trenton Simpson, where Trenton was a jack of all trades and some people would say master of none. I think Barrett Carter just plays a linebacker position just a little bit better, in my opinion, than Trenton. But both high caliber athletes, both are quote unquote undersized, right? But, man, I love what he brings to the game, of course. And, of course, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is arguably the best linebacker. He's the best middle linebacker, that's for sure, in the country. And I don't think it's really a close debate, really, and everything he does, making checks, making calls at the line of scrimmage and in the box, getting guys lined up, being the quarterback of the front seven of the defense, and being a high level communicator. But his instincts as well to do all the different things that he has to do. These guys blitz through the A gap. I think he had 6.5 sacks last year. Just an impactful defender, man. Of course, Tyler Davis playing some 1, some 2-eye, some 3, even some 4-eye and stuff like that. Just a very another versatile defensive lineman that I think if you put him in the right position, he can be a guy that can have potential 7-8 sacks this season alone. Probably more if you give him those one-on-ones and everything like that. More so as a 3 tech, rather than someone that has to deal with a ton of double teams. But I do believe that Rook. I believe Rook go row, man. I believe Rook should be on this list because there are not 93 better defenders, 93 defenders in the college football that are better than Rook, man. Rook is physical. He's got good arm length and wingspan, good quickness. He does so many things well. And I say this, and I say it with so much confidence, guys. I don't believe that Rook has even reached anywhere close to his ceiling, right? I don't think he has. And if that's scary to think about, man. So, yeah, the Bronco Nagurski watch list, Tyler Davis, Barrett Carter, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., those 3 are listed as your 3 defensive players that are viewed as potential candidates to be the top defensive player in the nation. Listen to that. The top defensive player in the nation. You got 3 guys on that list. Man, that's high praise, and that's a lot of love. Shout out to the Football Writers Association of America. That's big time stuff, guys. That's big time stuff. You want to talk about big time stuff? Clemson has put in a lot of wide receivers into the NFL, and for a while they've been amongst that conversation of wide receiver U, right? The university for wide receivers, the top school for wide receiver prospects, right? Now, do they still hold that? Title? Is the candle still lit? We're going to talk about that next on the Locked On Clemson Podcast. ESPN's David Hale wrote a piece called College Football's Position U back for 2022. Which schools produce the most talent at each position? He wrote this back last year and stumbled across this. And what was so fun about it, right? Now, of course, not taking into account what transpired for the 2023 draft. But, he wrote, and this is a blurb from him, our adjusted scoring system for 2023 has the Irish checking in at number 10 in terms of the wide receiver position. So, the Irish checked in number 10 for the wide receivers. And that basically pushed Clemson out from the top 10. I'm not gonna lie to you. What are we doing? Like wide receivers? I'm sorry, and there's no shot to the Irish. They don't have a lot of household names at the wide receiver position. Where you look at DeAndre Hopkins and T. Higgins, right? Justin Ross is killing it and get the training camp for the Kansas City Chiefs. Right? Like there are multiple. Mike Williams for the Los Angeles Chargers. Sammy Watkins early in his career when he was healthy. Okay. Hunter Renfro. Like, what are we doing here? Right. So, listen, I'm scrolling down to the wide receivers as we speak. Right. And because reading that blurb, I got a little tongue tied and I was like, wait a minute. What? Like, granted, this was a year ago. But again, like it just really caught me off guard. And he had best in the conference. So his top 5 was USC, LSU, Alabama at 3, Oklahoma at 4, Ohio State at 5. There's so much wrong with that list. So much wrong with that list. I'm sorry. There's a lot wrong with that list, in my personal opinion. I think LSU should be 1 if you really want to go there. Oklahoma. Oklahoma over Ohio State. I don't see it. I'm cool with USC being there. I'm cool with Bama being there. And I'm absolutely cool with Ohio State being there. But here, like I said, Oklahoma just kind of threw me for a loop. Then he says in the ACC, at number 7, The ACC's best in conference, he has Florida State, and they are ranked number 7. So that's very, like I said, that's very interesting to me in that regard. And I think even in the blurb, he talked about just to continue. The Tigers enjoyed a tremendous run at wide receiver in the 2010s, but the past few years have been ugly. And the position might be one of the biggest keys to a potential return to the college football playoff for the Tigers in 2023, said David Hale from ESPN. But listen to this. Clemson ranks top 10 in 2 other positions, and that's on the defensive side of the ball. Clemson comes in on the defensive line at number 4, but also on the defensive side of the ball, they are represented at linebacker at number 8 overall, with the arrow pointing up. Especially, you expect it to move forward with the 2 names we talked about in the last segment, Barrett Carter and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. So when you have those 2 type of guys who are 2 All-American candidates, right? And expect to be potential first-round picks. I think both of them have a really good shot. I know for a fact that Jeremiah Trotter is probably the leading candidate to go first round. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, like per David Hale of ESPN, like I said, it was a year ago, per him, Clemson's not in the wide receiver discussion right now. They're outside the top 10, right? But they do get some love at number 4 with defensive line, all right? They do get some love at number 8 with linebackers. I mean, you think about Trenton Simpson. I think they could potentially be higher. Trenton Simpson, Isaiah Simmons, Barrett Carter, Jeremiah Trotter. They've put some linebackers into the league that have been extremely talented, and now they got 2 more coming up in the midst. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. But again, just Oklahoma over Clemson at wide receiver is kind of crazy to me. I think the reason why for Oklahoma, for him, I didn't see his reasoning, but I think that it's probably off my mind as a draft analyst. Marquise Hollywood Brown, who was drafted to the Baltimore Ravens, he was a first-round pick, and then CeeDee Lamb, who was also a first-round pick. And then this past year for the 2023 draft, you had Marvin Mims, who was a day 2 pick, I think 3rd round, to the Denver Broncos. But still, yet, man, Hunter Renfrow, T. Higgins. Like I said, now we're seeing Justin Ross, things of that nature. It's just tough. That's tough to me, guys. That's tough to me. So Clemson's not wide receiver U anymore. But Antonio Williams, Cole Turner, Adam Randall, those guys are up and coming. They're up next. That we're going to be talking about, and so in terms of going to the NFL and everything, and they're primed and ready to change that discussion and put us back in the top 10, and not just back in the top 10, but putting us higher than Oklahoma. I still understand. But again, guys, Clemson's not wide receiver U anymore, but we're on the mend. We're on the way up. But shout out to the defensive line prospects and players over the last couple of years, and of course linebacker. And shout out to Mr. Hale giving us that love and everything from that piece, and found that on tigernet.com. So shout out to them. They do great work. Go check them out, guys. But that's our show for today, man. Thursday we're almost to the end of the week, guys. So listen, what I always tell you, go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Okay, on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, like, comment on these videos, man. Talk to me, because I do talk back. My schedule could be very busy, but I do try to get back to you guys as quickly as I possibly can. But also hit the bell notification so whenever I drop content. And of course, we're trying to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers, guys. So will you be the 1,000? Will you refer someone to be the 1,000s? Help your boy out. Let's get this channel. Let's build up this community and this family, and stay tapped into the community checks. I'm gonna be dropping some stuff there for you guys to tap in to film sessions and everything else that I'm going to be doing, not on the channel, but with the Patreon account that I have. So definitely tap into that. But guys, as always, man, in terms of Twitter, you know what you can do. Find me there. Follow me there. Talk to me, because I talk back. DP_NFL. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Go Tigers.